everybody. This is the biggest dog with a name, J1, and you are on the Out of Boundz Sports Show. It is Sunday, November the 23rd, 2018, and we got a slew of news to talk about this morning. So, if you didn't know and you haven't been following college basketball, the Duke Blue Devils were the number one team in the nation until they lost this past weekend. They were playing against a veteran team in Gonzaga, and I think they did a really good job of taking advantage of the young guys and their inexperience in late game situations. Now, mind you, Gonzaga was up 16 points at one time during the game, and it looked like they were going to blow Duke away. But because of Duke's athleticism, because of some of the young guys that they have in Barrett and Williamson, and, of course, Coach K, showing these guys the way they got back in the game, actually tied it at one time. But because of a few bad possessions in the last few minutes of the game, it was tough. It was just tough for them to get it done. And Gonzaga came out with the win. So now we're getting ready to see how these young guys respond after taking a loss. Because the way they were playing the first 4 games of the season, it looked like they literally could have went through and beat everybody. Could have put an undefeated season together. But we just, a lot of people got really, really crunk about it, and they started to say it's the greatest team ever. But I compared them to the Running Rebels of 90-91, the way they came out and the way they played, athleticism, their bigs and their guards. Everybody was all on the same page, but for some reason, they wanted to play one-on-one basketball, and that's why they ended up taking a loss. So I'm pretty sure that Coach K is going to get in the film room, talk to these guys about some of the things that they did at the end of that game to lose that game. Some of the bad decisions, meaning like not to pass the ball. Williamson didn't touch the ball in the last 5 minutes. Actually, RJ Barrett, took the majority of the shots in the last few possessions, and they all were blocked. So you're talking about a team that, understood the scheme of what was going on. I think they had a little time to watch the Duke Blue Devils play and look at their weaknesses, and then they exposed them. So now, going back to the drawing board, Coach K going to have to get his guys together so that they can learn to play together in the end of games and finish. And I think they'll learn from their mistake. And some of the other top 25 NCAA basketball games that were played this weekend, we're just going to roll through a few of them. Number 7, North Carolina beat number 17, UCLA, handily in the Continental Tire Las Vegas Invitational, 94-78. Number 4, Wisconsin escaped. Number 4, Virginia, escaped. Number 25, Wisconsin, 53-46 in the Bad Boy Mowers battle for Atlantis. Michigan, number 9, they're rolling. They pretty much have been rolling through everybody last year. You're talking about a team last year that was in the national championship game and ended up losing to Villanova, and they came back this year with a veteran group of guys, a bunch of guys from that team last year, and they have really been rolling. They beat Chattanooga 83-55. Now, mind you, Chattanooga's not really a major basketball program, but still, wins are wins. Florida State beat LSU in overtime. Florida State number 14, LSU number 19, respectively in the nation. 79-76, Florida State, the winner in overtime in the Abacare Invitational. Michigan State, they beat Texas 78-68 Kentucky. Number 10, they would start off the season ranked number 2, but after that horrible loss to Duke in the first game by 34 points, they started to drop down. But they're still hanging around in the top 10, 77-62 over Tennessee State. Kansas, the number 2 team in the nation, who started the season as the number 1 team in the nation, beat number 5 Tennessee 87-81 in overtime in the NLT season tip-off. That was an awesome game. And number 6 Nevada, who's flying under the radar, but they're still winning all their games. They beat UMass 110-187. So let's talk about some of these NCAA football games. We got a lot of them going on today on Saturday. If you're looking at some of the big games, you got Michigan, number 4, against Ohio State. Both teams are 10-1, and Michigan is favored by 4.5, mainly because they have a top-ranked defense. Georgia is hosting Georgia Tech. Georgia is a 16-point favorite against the Georgia Tech, 7-4. Number 11, Florida, plays Florida State at Florida State, and Florida State is an 8-point underdog, Syracuse, 8-3, they're at Boston College, and they have Boston College favored at home by 6 points. So if I was a bettor, I think Syracuse have been playing pretty good this year, but Boston College has been playing pretty good. They're just not ranked. So that's a little tough for them. They have a big game that they're going to have to play today at home. But Boston College has a good running game, so they should be all right. Alabama is hosting Auburn at 11-0, number 1 team in the nation, and they are favored by 24.5 points. Penn State is at home hosting Maryland. They're giving up 14. Northwestern is at home, number 19 in the nation. They're favored by 16.5 points against Illinois at 4-7. Number 24, Pitt, is playing in Miami. Miami is unranked, but they're favored by 5.5 points with Pitt on the road. So we'll see how that game works out. Top 25 game. Clemson seem like they're in the crash course to meet up with Alabama. Both teams are undefeated at 11-0. Clemson is favored by 26 at home against South Carolina's SEC matchup. Kentucky is on the road at Louisville, and they're favored by 16.5. Louisville hasn't been playing good at all on the road or at home, so I think Kentucky will cover that 16.5. Louisville is 2-9 overall for the season. Iowa State at number 25. Iowa State is at home with Kansas State, and Iowa State is favored by 12.5 points. And one of the other big matchups of the day we're going to be watching is Texas A&M hosting LSU. Texas A&M number 22 in the nation. LSU is ranked number 7. And Texas A&M is favored at home by 3.5 points. So that's going to be a good SEC matchup. That'll be later on this afternoon. Notre Dame, 11-0, the number 3 team in the nation, is in California at USC. Notre Dame is favored by 11.5. USC plays very, very well at home. And so I'm not looking for an upset alert, but I think Notre Dame is going to have a tough time winning in Southern California. And Utah State and Boise State, they cracked the top 25. Utah State has been playing very well this year. They're 10-1, and they're at Boise State, who is 9-2. Boise State is favored by 3 points at home, so we look forward to that game this evening. So let's talk a little bit about the NBA. Now, there's no surprise that there's several teams in the NBA that people have been watching, especially the Jimmy Butler trade. Over at the 76ers, they're watching to see how that's going to work. Of course, everybody has their eye on the Warriors, defending champions who trying to, do 3 in a row. And they always are looking very well, in the early season. It seems like they might hit a wall in the midseason, maybe get tired or bored. But, we look forward to seeing them in the playoffs. But the team I want to talk about is the surging Los Angeles Lakers. Now, LeBron James has pushed his team to 7 out of the last 8 games they had, and they're won. And they have an 11-7 record. They beat the Utah Jazz, who's a pretty good team in the West, 90-83 behind LeBron James, 22, 10, and 7. Now, LeBron James has been on a tear at 51, at 40. He's been doing a lot to make sure that his Los Angeles Lakers are competitive. But we all wonder, how long can LeBron keep it up at his age, having to carry the load of a bunch of young guys that need to get their game together so that they can consistently win games. Brandon Ingram had 24 points last night, 8 of 14. LeBron James led the team in rebounds and assists, of course, and most of the time he does that. So the Lakers were favored by 2.5, and the over and under was 220, and they covered both of those. So the Staples Center they've been packing it out 100% for the last few games that they played at home, and it looks like LeBron is starting to build some rapport and kind of get his guys to join in on what's going on. So I don't know. I'd like to see what the Lakers are going to do in the future. I'm sure that the Laker fans are excited about, the upcoming games, and the way their season is looking. But let's talk about a few of the NBA games that were played on Friday, November 23rd. And I apologize. I think I gave y'all the wrong date. It's November 24th today. Yeah, it's Saturday. So we're getting close to Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving just passed. I said we're getting close to December the 1st, which is when football season really, really gets intense because everybody's starting to make a playoff push. And we'll talk about the NFL in just a few minutes. But right now, I'm going to give you a rundown on a few scores. The Timberwolves, 110-102 over the Nets. They were on the road. They're playing pretty good. The Grizzlies lost to the Clippers, 107-112. The Rockets lost on the road in overtime to the Detroit Pistons, 116-111. The Hawks have finally the Celtics, finally finding their stride. And they beat the Hawks, who's up and down, a young team that's still building, but they're competitive. But the Celtics beat them up 114-96. The Pelicans lost at the surprising New York Knicks, who play well at home and they're mediocre on the road. But watch them in the East because they've been winning some games lately. The Cavaliers, here's one for you. The Cavaliers go on the road and beat the 76ers, 121-112. Without LeBron, without a superstar, with a bunch of young guys, and the Cavaliers are trying to find out what they're made of after losing a bunch of veterans and trying to finish up the season, without having a dismal record. The Raptors hold steady. They beat the Wizards 125-107 at home. The Spurs go on the road to beat the Pacers, 111-110. The Heat, 103-96 over the Bulls. The Hornets couldn't hold up. The Thunder beat them again, 109-104. The Suns go on the road and beat the Bucks by 2, 116-114. The Magic lose to the Nuggets, 112-187. And the Trailblazers get smashed by the Warriors, 125-97. Now, I don't think